Hey everybody, welcome to Dayton Drama Queens. I'm Josh Stucky.
I'm Philip Drennen.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much for joining us for another episode. We are really covering the gamut of Dayton's arts and entertainment.
Absolutely.
We've actually had calls from some people who run restaurants. They're like, can you do food stuff as well? You know what? Maybe that's where season 3 will go.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
keep things going in Dayton.
Right. We're in early season 2, so
Yeah.
it takes a minute. But listen, we've got probably one of my favorite people in all Dayton, Ohio.
I'm
with
already
us
laughing
today.
and we haven't even started.
Oh my God,
the
we have been
interview.
laughing our heads off. You are going to really enjoy this interview. It's Ben Douglas.
Hello.
Yay.
Hi,
This is
thank
Black
you.
Box, yes.
So happy to
With
be
Black Box
here.
and
Yes.
everything else in Dayton, Ohio. First and foremost, where are you from? How'd you end up here? Tell us all about your life.
Oh geez, I mean, tale as old as time. I'm an Air Force kid, so
Okay. I did
came
not know
here
that.
because of my dad in 2000.
Okay.
I grew up in the South.
Okay.
So you hear some accent every once in
Yes.
a while.
Where in
And
the South? Where were you?
So I was born in Alabama. So
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
I never knew
Lived
that.
in South Carolina,
Wow.
Virginia. Yeah, we
My
kind of went
gosh.
around. Yeah.
Okay.
And then moved here in 2000. Never left.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you guys get me.
And you like Dayton?
I love Dayton.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like I never really had a hometown growing up. So once I came here, I went to high school and then went to Wright State, it was like, okay, I'm locked in. This is my new hometown. And,
Yes.
and then you just like get more and more into the community like I have. And it's just the best.
So
I
what did you
think.
take at Wright State? What was your...
So I was a theater major for 2 quarters.
Okay,
Decided
okay.
that was not
Yes,
Don't wanna
I
do
hear
that.
you.
at all. I was like,
hear you.
no. So then I went to business.
Okay.
Because it was like, you got to find a job. Did that for 1 quarter because that did not work out
Lord,
either. Yeah.
Flip that corner. See where it lands.
So I went to my advisor and I was like, what is like a middle ground I can find here?
Yeah.
And that middle ground was communications.
Okay.
So I got a communications degree.
Okay, awesome.
And I still do it today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That is true. I mean, that's like a nice middle ground between.
Yeah, I was like, I want to
acting-
make money,
Uh-huh.
but it needs to be like a softer kind of practice.
Right.
Like I need to like
Yes.
talk to people and do interpersonal things, like
Yes,
stuff like
right.
that.
So did you
Yeah.
start performing when you were younger, or like when did you kind of get into that whole thing?
So it really started with like Kids Incorporated and Star Search and Mickey Mouse Club of like just like the
Star
infatuation.
Search, everybody.
Yeah.
Star Search.
I was convinced. I was like, I'm gonna be on Star Search
Mm-hmm.
in
Yeah.
the dance category. No training whatsoever. I was like, and I'm gonna win.
Yes.
I just know it. I mean, the delusion had set in very early for
Yeah.
me, and I just kind of rode that.
The search
from
is
there.
over.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you're such a like celebrity culture, pop
Oh my gosh,
culture
yeah.
person.
It
Like your
started
knowledge.
It started very early, and
Yeah.
then I was like, well, I want to do that because I loved making people laugh. Like that was first and foremost, still to this day, obviously. And so I was like, what can I do? And so I just started doing theater and choir and band and like anything kind of arts that I could get my
Yeah.
hands on because my
Yeah.
brothers were athletes and that was
Same.
not in the cards for me.
yeah.
So it was like, what's my thing,
Yes,
you know?
yes.
And just kind of landed on theater, and that's evolved over time.
So did you do theater in high school as well? Or?
I did,
Yes.
yeah.
Where'd you go
yeah.
to school?
Beaver Creek.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like we did Music Man and Les Mis was
What?
my senior year, which was like
I didn't know Ben, but I saw their production of The
What?
Music Man.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. How fun
oh
is
Music Man.
that?
That's right. Yeah.
I did with Gregory Russell
That's
as
right. Oh,
Harold
wow.
Hill.
Yes. Yeah.
Amazing.
And if you know Gregory Russell, I don't think the first thing you would think would be Harold Hill in Music Man.
No.
But he was fantastic.
Yeah, he was incredible. Yeah,
That's
and
awesome.
he's doing very well.
He's like a
now.
celebrity
Yeah.
hairstylist.
Yeah, he's incredible.
Do you have like a favorite part you've played in all your years in doing
All
theater?
of my years. I mean, so we did Lacage
Oh my
together.
God, this is the third time we've heard about
three of
Lacage
us.
doing this podcast.
It has to come up.
Yes,
Yes.
of course.
It just was so much fun.
Yeah, we did Lacage. I was Alban.
Yes.
And we had so much fun. It was such hard work, especially like on our part.
It was
to
the
kind
hardest
of
show I've ever
lead
done.
it. That
was
was
no
like
doubt.
the
Very
first,
hard.
Yes,
kind of
yes.
like
I don't think
really
any of us knew how hard of a show that was just
Yeah.
across the board.
Yeah.
And you all pulled it off brilliantly. And
Yeah,
it was
I think
super
on the
fun.
surface you're like, oh, this is just kind of a
Fun.
farce, and
I
like
love the
kinda go through-
birdcage.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
colorful
it's
and
fantastic.
extravagant and
Yes.
stuff, but
Yeah.
it's very emotional.
Yes. Mhm.
Especially on my
Yes.
character's part.
Yes.
So that was very challenging for me, but it was the most rewarding for sure. So I would say Alban for sure. And then Miss Tracy Mills in The Legend of Georgia McBride, another drag role. I kind of like, I don't know how I got into like.
I don't know how you people do drag. I've never quite understood.
I want to try it one day.
Have you ever considered like doing drag for fun, or you know, or not even for fun, but like even for
Ruby girls,
or Ruby girls?
Yeah, all the time. And then I'm like, well, it sounds like a commitment.
It's a lot of work, but it's again the payoff.
It's so fun. I mean, it's to truly feel like you're outside of yourself,
you get to be a completely different person.
Yeah, it's the best.
So tell us about Black Box.
Yeah, so that's a great segue because Black Box and improv in general is just completely surrendering. It's okay.
We'll fix that in post.
So so it's all about surrendering yourself to the characters that you're playing. So Black Box Improv Theater, it's in the Cannery Building on East 3rd, right across from Barrel House, our neighbors and friends. And it's the most fun thing I think someone can do, especially an adult. Like I teach it as well. And so I always say like, this is the dumbest thing you're ever going to do. And you're going to have so much fun doing it. Like it's so important to understand that like no one is looking at you to like laugh at you or like make fun of you. You know, people get really just so tense, especially like looking at traditional theater in comparison. It's like, oh my gosh, I would rather do improv all day long because I can just walk in and do my stuff and then leave and no one knows if it's right or not because there's no way.
It's so funny. I think of that anytime I think about improv, I get so anxious.
See, and I'm the opposite.
Yeah, because I need to know what I'm doing, where I'm coming in. You know, I need to know all those things. And the idea of starting a scene and having no idea who I'm doing it with, what we're going to be talking about.
Yeah,
it's got to be freeing though.
It is. I mean, there's a lot of trust involved in your scene partners. Because like, even if you don't personally know them, you at least know that they understand the foundations of improv. And so they're never going to leave you hanging. I mean, if they're good at it, you know, we learn and stuff. But, you know, taking classes is such an easy way to get rid of that like anxiety. We have so many people who aren't even performers who take these classes just because they want to meet new people or they want to get better at public speaking or they're just naturally shy and they want to like get out of it, you know? So it serves so many different purposes.
Confidence building, it has to come out of
when people do sign up for these classes, I mean, what can people expect to kind of, I mean, other than, you know, the life skills, like without giving away too much for people that aren't paying for this, like what are some sort of like foundations you start with to teach somebody improv? Yeah,
so it's trust. Trust is huge. Listening, obviously. I mean, our mantra is yes, and you're always going to agree with your scene partner to keep things moving. But it helps with relationships. You really look at human behavior and emotion in such a like an analytical way, but then you take the analysis away from it and just use it as like character study. So like I know Josh, I know Philip, I know how they kind of interact with the world. I can pull from that as reference and that's now a new character for me, but it's always pulled from that like grounded like baseline that we talk about. So it just kind of forces you to look at the world a little differently, like in different perspectives and stuff, because then you can pull from that. And it's like, all right, maybe it's selfish, but I'm like taking that's great. And I'm going to use it, later, you know? Yeah. So it's just, and then the confidence, the confidence thing. Cause it's like, I tell my students all the time, like anyone who can get on stage and do any sort of performing, I think is like super brave just because there are just as many, if not more people who aren't even willing to try to do something like that. Especially if it's something that you're making up on the spot, which adds that extra bit of like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing.
Nerve-wracking.
Just like once you're able to do that, like once your mind just like completely opens up and you're like, oh my gosh, like if I can do this, I can like maybe do anything. And that is also where the delusion comes in.
So you gotta have that. You have to.
I truly believe I can do anything. I'm like, try me.
Can you teach classes on that? That's what I would love.
That's the harder
And the funny
part.
thing is, Philip, I see you as being like just in control and you've got it. And that's so
completely.
funny.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Funny. It's weird.
I thought you were going to say, you look at me and you see complete delusion.
I mean, that's always part of it, though.
True.
Yeah, it is.
Some of my favorite performers are just delusional.
Absolutely.
Because it's like there's a positive delusion. Like it's not always like.
No, I know.
Oh, yeah. You see, I mean, superstars that are talented, sure. Are they any more talented than people we literally know in Dayton, Ohio?
Yeah,
no.
right.
Why
But they
not?
had that delusion since day one that I am a star. And that takes you all the way.
Self-confidence, just believing in yourself, which like sounds so crazy and like simple, but a lot of people just don't, you know?
True.
And I didn't for a long time too. I didn't know what my strengths were really, especially on stage. And improv, I think, really like changed the game for me and like how I approach material, how I act. I mean, how I process emotion. I mean, everything. I'm not looking for perfection ever. Yeah. I'm looking to see if I'm serving the character, if I'm serving the context of the story.
Yeah.
I want to live in that world.
Yeah.
And if I can do that, then nothing else matters.
Did you just like happen upon this improv thing? Did it just
so
like one night you're like, this is it?
It's kind of crazy. Like I always knew that the theater was here. And I had friends who did it, and I never went. I'm a horrible friend, but never went. And then our friend,
that's something. I mean, you're kind of like, okay, like your
I get
friend
nervous.
asking you to go see them improv. I mean, that's.
I know.
I
it's
get
big.
nervous in
I
improv
never know.
when you're sitting back going, oh no, this is not. Like it's
Yeah.
either hysterical or you're like, oh God, are they going to get out of this?
How
Because
many
I'm
things
nervous.
should I fake an illness? Like,
Audience members get really nervous of
Yes.
like, are they in control? Like, do they know what they're
is everything
doing?
okay?
And it's like,
Right.
good performers, like you're in safe hands. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Sure.
you're fine. You know,
for sure.
Yeah.
One thing I love about going to Black Box and even like planning my trips there is the way that you sort of segment out what we're going to be getting into. So for people that, maybe haven't been to an improv show, you can go look at the calendar and say, oh, they're doing a musical this night.
Yeah.
Oh, like I know y'all just had Galentine's Day. I mean, there's like events and there's theme nights and there's sketch comedy.
Yeah.
So many great things. Of all the different like offerings, do you have any that are your favorites?
Ooh,
Or, I know that's
mean,
hard.
So we have been working like in the last few years to kind of more diversify the shows that we put on and put together. Always our focus is community. So anytime that we can bring a group together, we're going to do that. Like Galentine's, where we have all of our female identifying performers together. Huge hit. My personal favorites to perform in are the improvised musicals, which I think are really cool. Like
People talk
everyone's
about those a lot.
everyone's always kind of impressed just because it seems
So impressed.
so difficult to do. The fact that we're making up the songs and lyrics and everything, the dances. I'm a big dancer. If you ever come to any of our musicals, I will take one moment to just fully lay out.
Star Search.
I know. I'm still climbing for that dream, girl. One of these days. Oh my God. But we have a fantastic band that also improvises
that's
all of
crazy
the
too.
music.
That's amazing.
For us, and it's just a
Right
full
here in Dayton,
relationship.
people.
Yeah. It's really
The crazy
cool.
thing about the musicals too is like not only do you all come up with these lyrics that are funny, they rhyme, but my favorite part sometimes close enough is coming up with these hooks, these like choruses that repeat that I literally walk out singing, like, or I'll wake up the next day and I'm like,
that's the goal.
Yes.
Yeah.
do you like
it's
think
crazy.
what's the process here? Because I mean, I've written a song or two, but I sit down and I need, a whole different thing. Coming up with it on the spot, do you find that like, does it like pop into your brain really quickly and then you say it, or do sometimes you just open your mouth and then your brain just finishes it for you?
It's both for sure. You start with an idea based on the context of the relationship going on and what the scene is showing. So you'll take like one little nugget of an idea from that, and the whole point is like you're not singing to advance plot. Like you are just singing. Like
Right.
this
Yeah,
is just a
right.
song to kind of fill out what's going on within these characters, you know? So I'll start with an idea and you just kind of go a little bit and eventually like it will click in of like, this is my chorus. I'll do that. And then you come back. Like I don't know. It just, it clicks in.
It's like having a little baby every time you're doing this
It's
stuff.
crazy. And like,
I guess you almost can't think too hard about it.
you can't. I mean, because then you'll get stuck on rhythm and
Yes,
you'll get
right.
lost. I mean, and like our band is great about following us if they need to,
Yeah,
you know, if something's going crazy. But it's just like it's not going to be perfect. I know it's not going to be perfect.
Yeah.
I'm just having a good time,
Yeah.
and it all just kind of.
And
works.
I think there within lies the whole thing. The difference between that idea of this is okay no matter what happens and oh my God, this has to happen or it's not okay.
Yeah, like what
So
what is
between
the
the
worst?
two,
Literally,
yes.
what is the worst that could happen?
Yes.
Like my song doesn't land,
Yes.
and
Right.
then we immediately reset and
Yeah.
do another one.
Yeah.
Okay, and then people forget. You know, it's like
I
it is
do.
that mindset
I
to
do.
get.
And you'll never recreate any of these moments
Oh, that's
again. So it's
right.
like that is kind of really cool to watch. Is like I'm witnessing something that only these people in this room will see.
Yeah.
It'll
Yeah.
never be the same again.
Yeah.
You know, it'll never
And we
have
won't
the
even
same feeling.
remember the second we walk off stage.
Right. Oh
my
Most of the
God.
time, like you just
Yeah.
kind of like black out because you're just like in the zone and you're having fun and doing all this stuff. Like
Yeah.
you really do just like push all thinking
That's-
aside and you're like, I'm just
this is
locked in.
Hearing you say all this, I truly have gotten education today because I've always been like, how does this work?
Yeah.
And now I'm kind of like, now I see what it's really creative expression in a whole different level than
Absolutely.
Yeah.
what we do when we're putting on a show, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So cool.
But you see how adding improv to theater, like
Right.
we often did
often
in
did in
Lacage.
that Lacage.
I don't
We
know
had
that we.
to.
I don't know that we ever got any of our lines.
Oh, I never did.
100%.
I never did.
But we got that just across.
We sure did. We sure did. And it was
we
in
kept it
those
going.
improv moments
Yeah.
that people lost their
Well, I'm
shit.
sure
Oh,
too, you
absolutely.
can start to see
Yeah.
early on, like just like Lacage, or if it's a black box show. Okay, the audience is kind of responding. Maybe they're a little like dirtier tonight, or maybe
Yeah.
they're responding
Yes.
to like these types of jokes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we can kind of head a little bit more in that direction.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
it's interesting because we're Full Monty is doing its
Yeah.
thing right now. And I was looking through the script last night, and all these, there's so many references to 1930s and 40s stars, and I'm like, oh God, this is going to be hard to make this generation understand
Like
what that
relevant,
means.
yeah,
So
yeah.
in my mind, I'm like, going back to the Ben Douglas, Josh Stucky stuff, how do we find a name to slip
Yeah.
in here that will make people laugh?
Right.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I
Or just
learned
like
a lot
I
from
just
you.
wish I had a
So
box
fun.
of Esther Price, or like just throw in a local Dayton thing.
Exactly.
And
Yeah,
you'll be
you'd
fine.
love to
They
stay
will
in the
forget-
Miami River.
Oh, the
We're
Miami,
just
okay.
strolling down the Miami River in
Quiet out here on the Miami River
France,
tonight.
in the French Riviera.
That was so fun.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
so much fun.
So
what's your
fun.
future? What are you thinking about for the upcoming years?
What's your
Yeah.
5-year
Black Box?
plan?
What's your
Oh
5-year
my
plan?
gosh. You know, I don't have one. And
Okay.
maybe that's part of like the
That way-
improv mindset where it's just been really great to like follow things and like
God, how nice.
I just like
Yeah.
I'm doing more with Black Box and it fulfills me in a way. And so it's like I just want to keep at that, you know, and see what happens.
So great.
And just have
You're literally
fun.
improving life.
I know.
That's
I know.
great.
Oh my God. dancing
Trusting your
through that.
instincts.
Yes.
Yes.
And Black Box too. You all offer kids programming in the summer, right?
Yeah. So we have Kid Prov in the summer. I believe it's July this year. It's hugely popular, which is crazy because like I don't know that anyone would immediately think of kids
Yeah.
when you're at a Black Box Improv show, but that is very different
Sure.
from what is done with the kids. It's just to again to get you out of your shell, to meet other kids that are interested in the same thing, you know.
So if people want to do all these things, where
Yeah.
do they go? What do they look up? How do they find you guys?
Yeah, so our website is DaytonBlackBoxImprov.com.
Okay.
We're on Instagram and Facebook,
Okay.
Black Box Improv Theater. We've got classes. We have a level 1 starting early March.
Okay.
We have classes going on all the time, so
Yeah.
you just jump into a level 1 and see where it takes you. We have shows every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
I just want to say on a final note from myself, I've done many a play, many a musical. And there's something that you left me with that I'll never forget. The energy you provide to people, which is so generous that you do that. And I want you to know how much I appreciated that throughout that Lacage experience.
It was such a great working
Synergy. It was
relationship
amazing.
for us.
It was.
That we've constantly just fed off of each other. I mean, and then you could see it kind of trickling with the
spread.
cast
Definitely.
too. I mean, having a good energy is huge. We always talk about that in improv. Always match energy. You know.
Well, thank you,
It's
Ben,
for
for being here with
Yeah,
us.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much
Ben.
for having me. This was
So
great.
much fun. You're just a joy, always.
Thank you.
And thank you all for joining us once again on Dayton Drama Queens. Don't forget, everybody, tell your friends all about us. And thank you so much to Square One Salon for sponsoring the show.
Yes, thank you. And hey, if you want to be a guest and
Yes.
talk about your project,
Yes, please do.
reach out.
Yeah.
Let us know.
Dayton Drama Queens at gmail.com. Just spelled like it sounds. So make sure you do that. Thank you for being here. I'm Josh.
I'm Philip.
And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.